Most living things reproduce by joining cells from two parents, a process called sexual reproduction. It's the way most animals, plants, and even fungi create new life. But some amazing creatures like sea stars can grow an entirely new body from just a single piece of themselves. This is called asexual reproduction. Interestingly, they can also reproduce sexually. Sea stars show us how organisms can use different strategies, taking advantage of the benefits of each method of reproduction depending on their situation. In this episode of Biology Revealed, we're discussing the advantages and disadvantages of both types of reproduction. With sexual reproduction, the offspring are genetically unique thanks to a process called meiosis. That's a big win because it helps species survive changes in the environment. But the downside is it often takes time and energy to find a mate and raise the offspring. With asexual reproduction, organisms make exact copies of themselves. The process is fast and doesn't require a partner, which is super efficient. But since all the offspring are clones, there's less genetic variation, making them more vulnerable to things like disease or environmental change. To learn more about reproductive processes, let's head to Sapelo Island, Georgia.
Here on Sapelo Island, we're right on the edge of a marine ecosystem, and in these ecosystems, we have organisms that use both sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. We have some sea stars, for example, that live in our waters that are actually able to, if they lose a limb and they still have a piece of their central disc, that limb can actually regrow to be another organism, another full sea star. It's a form of asexual reproduction and really helps them out in terms of predation. If only part of them gets eaten, they can regrow those limbs, or those get torn apart, they can actually become more individuals. We also have some really cool plants that actually use both forms, asexual and sexual reproduction. There's a sandspur prickly pear, which is in the genus Opuntia, and this is really good at kind of grabbing onto clothes or shoes as you walk by and then dropping off. This form of vegetative dispersal is asexual reproduction because wherever it drops, it can start growing again and be a clone of the first individual. This can be an issue if there's any disease that's going to make these individuals susceptible. But this specific type of cactus also goes through the really extensive, expensive process of making a flower, which is its form of sexual reproduction. So it can get a mix in genetics. And then when they reproduce that way, those offspring might not succumb to the same disease. Turtles and alligators are really, really neat because they have temperature-dependent genetics or sex determination. And this sex determination is when they are in the nest, depending on what temperature those eggs are incubating at, will determine whether those individuals are going to be male or female. For organisms that choose between or have the option of doing sexual or asexual reproduction, asexual reproduction can be valuable because it can allow an organism to save a lot of energy. They can get a lot of individuals in one space pretty quickly and a little more easily than if you're reproducing sexually. But the genetic diversity that you get from sexual reproduction is really, really valuable. Having those offspring be a little bit different so that they can survive different diseases or potentially be more hardy than other organisms.
It's amazing that the sex of alligator and sea turtle hatchlings depends entirely on the temperature of their nests. But you don't have to go to coastal Georgia to see different reproduction strategies. Take this bowl of fruit. Did you know bananas actually reproduce asexually through cloning? In the wild, they reproduce sexually with seeds, but humans have learned to make exact clones of banana trees through cuttings. Other seedless fruits like grapes reproduce the same way. By using asexual reproduction techniques, farmers can grow fruits that are consistent in size, taste, and quality. This ensures that every piece of fruit you eat is just as good as the last one. And it's a great example of how humans and nature can work together to solve problems and improve our food supply. Join us next time on Biology Revealed as we explore more fascinating ways that nature works. And remember, stay curious.